Well, so I'm just going to get to it. I wanted to come and talk about my opinions on the new release, One Star's Confession. So I finished it not too long ago, and I didn't think it was great, but I don't think it's as bad as everybody else is saying it is. I still enjoyed it, but I mean, I'm I don't I just enjoy reading them. I don't really hate any of them. So that could be why, but I'll tell you what I thought of the book. So, in the first few chapters, you're with okay, wait. I'll start with the prologue. My bad. Okay, so the prologue, it starts with One Star and Darktail's death and them coming to a neutral area. I think it would have been better if they would have let Darktail and him have some type of conversation before Darktail just kind of evaporated into the dark forest. I think it would have been nice to like drive the point home that One Star was just not kind to his son. But I mean, this still looked like, I think this was still good. So One Star sitting here waiting to find out if he's going to go to StarClan or the Dark Forest, which it's kind of pointless because we already know, but I think it's a fine prologue. And then the first few chapters of the actual book, we start with One Paw as an apprentice and his patrol meeting a kitty pet and her two kits, who end up helping fight a badger and temporarily join Wind Clan. And it's Bailey, and then her two kids become apprentices, Tansy Paw and Brush Paw. These were my favorite few chapters. I really thought it was really fun to see all the apprentices together, and how one Paw ended up hanging out in the two-leg place and trying to make himself seem so awesome to all the kitty pets. Him and Brush Paw. It was cute to see them as friends. And then, so Tansy Paw leaves back to becoming Melody and goes back to the two-leg place because it's just not for her. And I was okay with that because, obviously, they're not going to be in the clan because their names, there's no warrior names with those names later in that time period. And then Brushpaw gets killed in a fight with Shadow Clan, I believe. And I kind of liked how it straight up went to the next chapter at his vigil instead of like all the in between of them trying to nurse him back to health and all that. I feel like it kind of came more as a shocker, like, oh my gosh. Even though you kind of knew by how they kept going, he's probably going to be okay, right? Like the chapter before, I'm like, oh no, he's dead. And it sucked because Brushpaw was a good character, but I hate how they tried to use this event to kind of like show why One Whisker does not want to take Storm and Dark Kit into his clan. I can see how this event would make the rest of the clan more likely to say no to them if it wasn't for Firestar. Like, they have examples of good and bad warriors. Or good and like Tansy Paw, who couldn't do it, and Brushpaw, who was playing around in the two-leg place so much that I don't know if that's what got him killed in the Shadow Clan fight or if he just got really unlucky, because warriors die in the fight, so who knows. Like, and they keep saying how Brushpaw wasn't meant to be a warrior. I'm like, you guys were in a fight, people die in fights sometimes. Like, come on now, that don't mean he's a horrible warrior. I think with the I'm jumping ahead a little bit here. Okay. So when One Whisker finally... So it skipped the... Okay. a tangent, my bad. Okay, so the book skips like basically all of One Whisker getting to know Storm at all. So we don't know what kind of relationship they have, like how they get closer, anything about that. It skips anything to do with Gorsepaw and his death. It skips WindClan getting drove out. It also later on skips the Eclipse battle with Firestar. Like, they could have skipped the whole freaking traveling over the mountains and One Whisker getting signs from freaking the Teller of Pointed Stones and all of that. Or what is it? You know, the Tribe of Rushing Waters ancestors. We didn't need them to have signs about him. That was just pointless. They could have taken that out and instead included more of the important information like Gorsepaw, WindClan getting drove out, Eclipse battle, any of that. I would have taken any of that over the Tribe of Rushing Water signs and scenes. I was like, this is such a waste of time. I will go on to say they skipped One Whisker training White Paw, so you don't really see any of that. But when they are warriors and that passage where they do get together that was going around on Twitter, it was weird that they put that in there. But the way that chapter's written, it seems like he never considered or had any kind of thoughts about her at all like that until they were both way past that time in their life. So it personally did not weird me out too much. I wasn't really bothered by that. I know a lot of people are. But if it would have started with him and her, like when he was training her and her being his apprentice, that would have been really awkward. But since they had it happen so much later, I don't think it really matters. It would have been better if they would have left that sentence out, especially since they cut all that out anyways. So it's not important information. They could have still had her be his apprentice and just not point it out in the chapter, and most people probably wouldn't even notice. I did really enjoy the end half of the book and kind of like Onestar's descent into like madness from his secrets and having to push away Firestar, who was such a good friend to him. He feels like he doesn't have any friends. He can't tell anybody anything. It just seems like it's really nice to see him struggle so hard. But when he does finally reveal the secret, he gets no repercussion for it at all. So it's kind of, everything felt pointless. If he would have had more problems, like Whitetail not forgiving him so fast, or his daughter Heathertail not forgiving him so fast, like, everyone forgave him way too fast, and it made the whole book seem really pointless. So, the only thing I think this book does good is kind of, what is it? Showing Onestar as a flawed, complicated character who is not always good. But the problem is the narrative tries to make it sound like he's trying his best all the time at the end, and he's not. The book reads like he's saying he doesn't want to take Dark Kit and Storm with him to WindClan because of them being hungry and getting driven out and all of that. But you can tell by the way he keeps reassuring himself that, to me, that he just does not want to take them. He doesn't want to ask. He doesn't want to deal with them. He wants to leave them in the past. He doesn't, like, he feels bad for them. But he does not want to deal with it. That's how I read it. And that he's just using any excuse to try to make himself feel better. And that seems to be like his character. Like, he always likes to hear people talking him up, and that's why he came to her in the kitty pets in the first place. And so he doesn't like to feel like he's evil or bad or doing something awful, so he tries to talk himself up as well. That's how I read it. So if the book didn't try to be pushing that he does what he can all the time and that he's ultimately good, like, they should have worded that differently. And I also don't like how Onestar tries to reassure himself at the end that Dark's Tail would have been evil no matter what he did. I don't believe that's true at all. I think he could have been swayed if he had a chance. One Whisker telling himself that, it just furthers my idea that he's just a very flawed, kind of selfish individual. I don't think that means he had to go to the dark forest. I don't think he's that evil. I don't think he's evil. I think he's just a selfish person. And the book could have kind of acknowledged that and had him trying to do better, kind of like the Dark Forest Cats in the last arc. But maybe a little bit better to justify why they didn't allow the Dark Forest Cats to join StarClan, you know? They could have said, well, you didn't kill anybody, so... like... The book tries to make him seem perfect at the end, or like he's trying to be... Like he was trying his best, but he wasn't. He wasn't trying his best. He was a very selfish individual. That's why this book actually made me like him more. I kind of like the selfish characters. It's a nice break from trying to be the best warrior all the time and doing your best and never doing anything wrong. I liked seeing One Whisker as a selfish, trying to be kind individual that really struggled because he needed his self-validation and not wanting to own up to his past. But that's the only thing that the book really did good to me. But I also don't like, it kind of fits with his current character, but you'd think he would not hate Crowfeather so much. It seems like he's really not a fan of Crowfeather at all. And considering like how both of them act, it seemed odd that he had such a strong dislike for Crowfeather and how Crowfeather defended him so many times. Like, it seemed odd. And one thing that made me laugh really hard is when they were trying to figure out where Crowpaw went during the journey, and his mom Ashfoot was like, or One Whisker suggested that he could have been having like a fling with other clan cats, like in other clans. And Ashfoot was like, he would never. And I'm like, well, he does twice. So it was a funny line to have her say, just because he does do it so many times. So I liked the apprentices getting more character. Ashpaw, One Paw, Morning Paw, Tansy Paw, and Brush Paw. I liked Mudclaw's character development in this as well. And I liked One Whisker being shown for who he truly is. Not counting Tallstar, trying to say he did the best and all that at the end. Because I could see One Whisker telling himself that Darktail would have been evil either way, because that's just how One Whisker is. Like, One Whisker is just like that. So if that's... Maybe you could see him kind of like an unreliable narrator in some aspects. So I liked all those aspects of the book. I've always enjoyed Whitetail, so her character was fine to me. I wish they could have expanded on it. I liked how this book confirmed that Heathertail's his daughter. Even if it does add some weirdness to Breeze Pelt and Heathertail's relationship. But at this point, you can't avoid that anymore anyway, so it's like... What a surprise. But I like the idea. I liked Heathertail and One Whisker's relationship. It was cute. From what we did see, the little we saw. I don't like One Whisker and Kestrelflight's relationship, or his relationship with Hairspring. He did not care. He was really mean to both of them, like, the entire time it showed any of them. But I mean, One Whisker, One Star, that's just kind of... He was going into madness already, so I mean, not too surprised. And I hated how this book skipped so many things that we wanted to see in this book. The eclipse battle, Gore's paw, like any character development we could have got as White from Whitetail as an apprentice, any of his relationship with Smoke, anything. Like, it skipped all the most important information. But I wouldn't. I still enjoyed it because I liked Onestar's character in it. But I definitely can see why people do not enjoy it. Do I think it's the worst? I could read it again. It's not horrible. I don't know if it's the worst, but I mean, if you're not interested in reading every single book and you just want the important stuff, you could skip this one. It's not important. It doesn't give you anything new. Really, it just rehashes information you already know. Especially since it writes the Mudclaw scene again. They could have cut that as well and added something else that we haven't seen, because we've had the Mudclaw scene written like 4 times now. So it really doesn't add much new unless if you just really like One Whisker or Onestar, or if you just are dedicated to reading the whole thing, like every book like I am. It wasn't bad. It's still enjoyable to me. The couple first chapters with the apprentices were super fun. That part was new. But as soon as you get past that, it don't really add much. So, I mean, you can skip this one. It's not going to hurt you. And those are my opinions. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me and I'll answer you if I forgot anything or something like that. And bye-bye.